All right, so working on a 2016 Chevy, I don't know, Silverado, whatever. It's got the AFM 5.3 liter engine. This is the fourth time I pulled the left side head off. First time I did it, it had a failure on the driver's side, so I ended up doing all OEM GM AFM lifters, the whole 9 yards, head gasket, slapped it back together. 400 miles later, lifter on the left side, the passenger side failed, number 7, I think, I can't remember, 3 or 7. Anyways, swapped that back out. Just that side of the head that time, put it all back together. It drove for 20,000 miles, and then it yet lost another lifter. But this time it was, I think it was the number 7 on this side, the far back one by the driver's side. You go to crank it, you'd see the rocker drop and come back up and sit there where everything else is moving. I have a feeling it might have just been the Vlom, but so I got a new Vlom, new sealed power lifters, all OEM gaskets, going back together, torqued everything down, proper sequence, like 58, 60 foot-pounds, 90 degrees, 70 degrees. I get to the very last one, passenger side, right front, the one outside by the exhaust. Did the 90 degrees, and I go to do the next 60, and then it was just like butter. So I immediately knew this happened. Let's see if we can't show you this. There's a new one here on the left, and you can see the threads pulled on the right hand side. So that was extremely disheartening. Last bolt, right before I could stick everything else back together. Now it's been a couple months. I ordered a Heli-Coil kit. I still got the head on. Was it Right-Zert, not Heli-Coil, but the Time-Sert or something. They make a nice kit, but you have to do it with the head off. So what I'm going to do is I just bought a regular Heli-Coil kit. I'm not going to use one piece out of it, so that was a waste of money. So what I did is I need a long drill bit, so I got a foot long 31/32 or 64 or whatever it is, 31/64 drill bit. Measured down the hole with the bottom with a vernier caliper, so I know what length it is, marked it with tape, stuck this in there, and I'm drilling through the head, through the block, and luckily I was able to get the hose and stuff out of the way. Drilled it through, hit the bottom without going into a water jacket, pulled it out, blew it out, cleaned it out. That's good. As far as the tap goes, this is on order from China, and hopefully I'll see it in about a week. It says it was like a 45-day wait, so it's been on order for a while. So, but it's 160 millimeters, which is going to put it farther than, it's going to be out here like this, but then the threads are down here. So I'll be able to just go straight in there, tap down with what I want. But before I can do that, I have to drill the original hole, threads out just for the tap. I have to actually go 9/16 at least. So I got a 9/16, and I'm going to drill down the hole 9/16 to right about where the threads start. So that way, hopefully the tap will mostly just slide right in. I think there's about a 5-10 thousandths difference, so I might get creative with another drill bit or something. And then to keep the drill bit straight, these kits they sell for like $700, amazing kits. I'm just not pulling the head off. So I got a brass plug. So what I'm going to do, not this one, a different one, I'm going to drill the hole out in the center to the same diameter as this, and then I'm going to machine the outside edge to the 9/16 hole it's going to go in. That way, I'll be able to slide this in, put the bushing in, and that'll keep the top aligned while I go down to the bottom and actually do my thread, so it'll actually work out pretty good. And then, went on eBay, and I got the longest Heli-Coils I can get. I think these are 30 millimeter, 31. It's roughly an inch, inch and a quarter, or inch and an eighth, which is close. It's not quite close. I could literally go ahead of a ½ inch in a stock bolt. But what we're going to do instead, I got a set of ARP head studs. Part number 234-4342. These are supposed to be for the 6.2 liter, but this is a Gen 5. It's important. These bolts, the GM ones are a torque to yield or whatever, but they're 12 millimeter by 1.75. The studs, 12 millimeter by 1.75, and if you hold this up to it, it will grab most of the studs, so I'll be able to have a little bit of leeway. And then with putting a stud in, the Heli-Coil is not the best, but it's going to be down the block. We'll run the stud in, with some Loctite when it's all said and done. So now when I go to torque the head, all the twisting is happening up at the top, and I'm not trying to twist threads at the bottom and pull them out. A couple other bolts in this head felt sketch, but they torqued to yield, and I just stopped and said, whatever. But this is the very last one, so I'm kind of jerry-rigging it versus pulling the head off. So if I'm ever to do this again, which I have a 2015 6.2 liter Yukon, if a lifter on that one fails, I'm in California, so we got to keep the lifters. I'm going to pull the engine, pull the bolts out, and straight stud them the first time. You have to pull the engine every time to get the heads off, but this will eliminate me ever having to do this again. And for the most part, if you're going to do this, you got to pull the engine anyways, especially to get to the back ones. So if you're doing lifters, I'm just going to pull the engine. It's not that much more work. Actually, it's easier to work on once out of the truck instead of being bent over the hood, trying to torque the yield, get everything lined up right, versus just standing there doing it on an engine stand. So much easier. So next time, this engine won't be a next time. I'm going to sell this truck as soon as I get this done and it works. If it doesn't work, might have to put an engine in it. That's going to suck, just because of one bolt. But we'll get it figured out. Still waiting on parts. Oh yeah, one other thing I'm going to do is I already drilled it to 31/64. Bueno there. I got this 9/16 ream. So before I go starting a random 9/16 drill bit, just blindly at a hole, I'm going to start it with the ream, so that way it kind of halfway centers it. It'll go down to 9/16, and that'll get me started. And I could probably run that down about as far as I can get it. So at least I'll have a inch and a quarter piloted. It's already straight, so I should just be able to run this down until I hit the tape line. Be done, blow it out, clean it out, wait for my tap to show up, build my bushing when the tap shows up so I get the right ID. I know the OD will be 9/16 because that's what I'm drilling the hole to, so that'll be easy. And then once I machine that out, then I should just be able to slide the tap in, slide this over the collar, or over the shaft, and then, well, pretty much tap it. I'm going to use a tap socket. Tap it out, blow it out, clean it out. Installing the Sert. The Heli-Coil Sert, I'm either going to just install it on the stud. I haven't decided yet. But the studs don't have that little driver locker thing, which would cause a problem. I'm either going to grind the stud maybe with a cutoff wheel to make it look just like one of those, so it actually will grab it and twist it around and drive it in properly. Or I'm going to take the install tool. I'm going to get me another bolt. Guess I could just use the old head bolt, cut it off, weld it on, so then I have a nice long install tool, and I'll be able to install the nut Sert and then install the stud, move on with life. That's step one, sort of. That's step like 18 or whatever. But next part of this, once that piece comes in, I'm going to start machining my little bushing, and then we'll go from there. All right, here we go. This is my beautiful trailerable. I just had a flat tire to fix. Trailerable lathe. Power feed works this way. It doesn't work that way. I think I paid 1,800 bucks for it. 2-inch ball hitch. Hook it to the back of your truck. Haul it anywhere you want. Plugs into 220 single phase. Someone already changed the motor over to a single phase motor, so I don't need a phase converter. So I drag up in the barn, plug it in the shop, garage, and I'm working on my bushing. So let's take a little bit closer look to that. So, like I said, I got just a brass, yeah, it's brass plug. I think it was like 1/2 inch. I already got like a low 400 thousandths hole in it, which is close to my Heli-Coil tap, but I won't know until China one shows up the actual diameter. So hopefully it's close. So I'm starting to machine the outside edge down. Only taking 10 thousandths at a time because it is only barely held on by the nut section here. So as long as I don't put too much torque on the outside here, it'll keep it from popping out. So I should just be able to mow right along. All right, so I had an old tapered ream in my toolbox, so I stuck it down the hole to kind of give it a little guidance. And as you started, I'm hoping the resistance will kind of keep it centered. So I reamed that down to 9/16. And I built a bushing. It's just a pipe fitting. I machined it down to 9/16, actually about 5/1000ths over. And it slides onto the tap. So I took the initial starter tap, and the hole is about 5 to 10 thousandths small. So you started in, so it's like scraping the whole time. So and then until I got to the actual taper part where it sat in the head, then I was able to taper it down that far, or tap it down that far, and I still got to go quite a ways. So I finally got a tap from China I need. So much longer. Standard Heli-Coil tap, the one from China. So now what I got to do is I got to bore the hole out here to fit this shank, or build a whole new bushing, but I'll probably just bore this one out. That way I can get this tap in there because this one's already been in that deep. So this one will go in there, I'll slide this on, and I'll go all the way down to where I got to stop, where it bottoms out, where I need the threads are down here, because I already drilled out with a 9/16 to right about there. So my threads will start in the hole about here and then go all the way till this thing will hit the bottom. So I put the Heli-Coil in there, it gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So now I just got to machine this and keep on trucking. So I only had to take about 15 thousandths off. I got this fairly snug of the inside of the hole, which is about 7.5 thousandths on each side. Using this little bit at 5 thousandths at a time. So now this fits in there nicely. So that'll align with the head, and then down the hole here, it'll be going about 5 thousandths actually till it hits the part where it needs to make it. So to keep it fairly in line, so that way this doesn't go crooked and drill sideways into the block. So let's take this puppy out. So that looks nice. And you can see, I don't know if it'll focus, there's that smooth bottom section because you got the threads on top. But now the smooth section goes against the shaft and this outside piece goes against the head, so it actually hold it pretty darn straight. So I'm super happy with this. All right, let's do it. All right, so I've been working on that hole there the whole time. So what we did, this last few steps, is I took the China Heli-Coil tap, ran it to about that much of a depth over here. This was inside the head, and that was where the washer goes, the head bolt. Welded on just an extension onto the Heli-Coil install tool, because it's got that little tangy thing on the end in the middle there. And then so now, whenever I put the stud in, it'll go to just about there. And then I'll have roughly not quite a fingertip's worth of threads for clamping force, so I won't run out of threads torquing this thing down. Let's hope it works, which it should. Heli-Coil went in just fine. A little bit of red Loctite. Obvi. All right, red Loctite, smashed it on here. Screwed it in like 98% by hand. Torqued a little bit at the end just to make sure it's all the way at the bottom. Spun it back out, it's done. So now I'm gonna install this. ARP said install the studs hand tight, and they give you a little hex head at the bottom or the top. So I'm gonna hand screw it in, just give it a light little snug there, and then I gotta put a little bit of that ARP lube on this thing and torque it down 3 steps up to I think 115 foot-pounds, and we'll be done. And then I can finish installing the rest of the bullshit on this fucking piece of shit. And you can see the ARP head stud installed. I got no leaks, a few hundred miles on it. Pretty good. So I'm gonna do like a little lessons learned recap about some things I've learned over the past couple months working on this junk. So the reason why I had it apart, AFM lifter failure, third time. Had the first one at 83,000. Next one was 400 miles later, and I'm replacing all the lifters on both sides at this point at every time with brand new OEM GM stuff. 20,000 miles later at 103,000, I lost another one. So I talked to some guys and they said I should try the Speed Pro lifters. They're either made in USA or Canada or Mexico, and they're supposed to be better than the GM ones. So off came both heads again, changed all the lifters out, putting everything back together. So that head on that side's been off, I think, one more time than the driver's side. And if you're doing heads on an LS, I would not recommend it doing more than twice with the stock using OEM GM, head bolts, because they're torque to yield. So every time you're torque to yield, you're putting all kinds of stress on those threads deep inside the block. And when they let go like I did, I had a massive problem. So what I would do on this engine or the next one, if I'm going to do one, pull the heads, change the lifters out with the Speed Pro ones, not GM ones. I use all OEM GM gaskets on everything, so when I put it back together, I would immediately put the stud kit in from ARP. It's like $400 for the stud kit. $400 is cheaper than the Time-Sert kit to do it properly, to rethread them. So instead of wasting all that time, money, and a head gasket, if you end up pulling a thread and having to pull the head off to drill and retap and insert the block, $600-700, you might as well put $400 into it, put studs on there, and never have to do it again. That way all the torque's happening at the top of the stud and not deep in the block where they're twisting when you're trying to tighten these things down, because you torque it like 50-60 foot-pounds, then you go 90 degrees, and then you got to pull another 70 degrees on it, and all it's doing is you're trying to stretch that rod bolt, but you're also pulling all those threads pretty hard. And apparently you mess it up a hole more than once, you got to buy a new engine, because that block is probably unrepairable. I got lucky. This one worked. Doesn't leak, doesn't overheat, no misfires. Runs actually pretty good. I'm just waiting for the EVAP monitor to set. Once I get that to set, bye-bye. Sell it to Carvana or CarMax or something, get rid of it and go get something else. It's like a lemon. You don't want to keep dumping money into it, because I don't want to pull the heads one more time on this one. It's not a bad job to do, but you don't want to do it more than once. Twice is terrible. Third time, I hate this thing. So, oh yeah, if you notice, I'm sitting here, it's got a jack up, because when I started driving it, hear a loud noise going down the highway, and I figure it sounded like coming from the left front tire. And we make a slight right-hand curve on the highway, the noise goes away. So I got a bad wheel bearing. Amazing part, O'Reilly's Auto Parts store wants like a couple $100 for it, and I can get a Moog or I can get a Timken bearing or sealed hub unit for like $80-90, almost half the price off of eBay. For brand name Moog, brand name Timken, not the Master Pro, whatever they sell there. That could fail again. So I'll be putting a wheel bearing on this next. I'm just gonna order that tonight and wait for it to show up. But yeah, not fun, but doable. So I hope you guys learned something. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but I would not recommend doing this again, and I don't plan to. So all the tools that I bought, I'm gonna package those up. I'm gonna put those on eBay, sell them to the next guy that's gonna do pretty much the same thing. If he's got to fix a hold with the head on, because you don't want to take the head back off and waste another $60 gasket and everything else, I wouldn't keep an engine once you started Heli-Coiling it. You're just asking for trouble down the road. Because the Time-Serts are the GM approved one. I put a Heli-Coil in, it works, but it's a matter of time before it fails again. All right, hope you enjoyed. Cheers.